The person you trust is making a deal behind your back. Their shocking plan is about to. My beloved child, listen to me with every breath you take, for what I am about to reveal cannot be ignored. Do not look away, do not let your focus wander, because this moment carries a secret that was hidden in plain sight. The person you thought you could trust, the one whose smile seemed pure, has been weaving a plan that would leave you speechless if you saw it with your own eyes. They have sat at tables where your name was spoken, not with love, not with honor, but with whispers dipped in betrayal. Behind your back, they negotiated with those who wanted to see you fall, and every word exchanged was another dagger sharpened against your peace. This is not just gossip, this is a deliberate deal, a plan so calculated that heaven itself could not stay silent any longer. You may feel your chest tightening even now, sensing that the ground beneath you is trembling. That is not fear, my child, it is confirmation. Your spirit has known for weeks that something wasn't right, but you couldn't place your finger on it. Today, the veil is lifting. Stay right here, because if you walk away now, you will miss the exact truth your soul came searching for. The shocking part isn't only that they planned it, it's that they smiled at you the entire time, pretending to protect you, while secretly exchanging your trust for their gain. From this moment on, every word in this message will pull you deeper into the revelation. You will see their face, you will recall their actions, and you will realize how the puzzle pieces fit together. And when you do, you'll understand why heaven wanted you to hear this right now. The betrayal is close to unfolding, closer than you imagine. They are trying to seal this deal soon, in a way that would leave you powerless if you weren't warned ahead of time. That's why you're here. That's why your eyes are locked on these words. This isn't a coincidence. It's a divine interruption. My beloved child, listen with the whole of your heart because this message has arrived at the very moment it was needed. Do not let your eyes slide away from these words because what follows will make everything you thought was certain suddenly shift. The person you trusted has been crafting a secret agreement that will try to steal from your future and rearrange your life without your consent. You have felt the tiny tug in your chest, the quiet unsettledness that visited you in the middle of ordinary days, and that feeling was not accidental. It was your spirit sensing the shadow that crept in while your hands were busy with daily tasks, and now that shadow is gathering speed to complete what it started. This revelation is not meant to destroy you but to arm you so you can stand steady when the truth appears. They smiled in light and plotted in darkness with the precision of someone who believes secrecy is safety, and every polite phrase was a stitch in their plan. They spoke with people who do not wish you well and arranged outcomes that benefit them while leaving you to clean the wreckage afterwards. The pieces are placed now, and the deal is close to being signed unless you move with speed and clarity. Hold fast to what you know about your worth, because betrayal never measures your value, it only measures the greed of the betrayer. Your calmness remains your sharpest advantage, and your steady breath will reveal the cracks they tried to hide behind charm. When a person plans behind your back, the simplest details betray them, and your quiet observation will collect the evidence you need. Pay attention to the small things they started doing differently when they assumed their acts would not be noticed, because secrets always leave marks. The timings that shifted, the unexplained messages deleted, the sudden defensiveness at harmless questions, these are the fingerprints of an agreement being built in shadow. When you catalog these tiny departures from honesty, you hold the map to the conspiracy that targets you. Do not rush to confrontation because a rushed reply hands power back to the person who expected surprise to be their ally. Move instead like a patient river that gathers force beneath a still surface, and prepare the moment that exposes the truth without playing into their script. This plan they drafted depends on your reaction, and turning the plan against itself will unearth them. Remember that people who plan betrayals are experts at dressing intentions as necessity, and their words will be smooth and full of reasons meant to sound like care. They will present outcomes where they appear as the rescuer or the broker of advantage while quietly trimming your portion. Your task is not to be shocked by their sleight of hand but to document it so the narrative becomes obvious to everyone. Keep a record of the conversations that felt off, the promises that evaporated, and the favors that required secrecy, because these are threads you can later weave into proof. A list written clearly, dates attached, and simple notes will speak louder than 1,000 angry speeches. The moment you present honesty backed by plain facts, the theater collapses and the truth stands alone. There will be allies who did not know they were part of the pattern, and they will be stunned when you show them the clear sequence of events. Their surprise will become your ally because once the pattern is visible, even the hidden supporters find it difficult to continue lending cover. This is how a secret plan unravels, not with drama but with undeniable detail. Archangel Michael says the timing of your revelation matters, and heaven has nudged you to listen now rather than later. This is your appointed hour to reclaim what was shifted without your consent, and courage will be the instrument that closes the deal they attempted to open in shadow. Stand in the light of your own knowing, because disclosure will heal what was harmed. As you brace to bring facts forward, expect attempts to gaslight you and shift blame, because those who plot behind backs are practiced in rewriting narratives. Remember that gaslighting is a desperate tactic and that persistence in truth is its antidote, because reality will outlast any manufactured story. Your calm reiteration of what happened, repeated to witnesses and recorded plainly, will be the fortress that holds against manipulative tides. When you expose the people who conspired against you, do so with dignity rather than vengeance, because dignity calibrates the response of onlookers and strips power from the spectacle they hope to create. Let the evidence speak and let your voice remain steady, because people will weigh your posture as much as your words. The world favors the one who remains composed while holding the proof. Expect that some will betray you with reasons that sound plausible because plausible explains nothing and only obscures motive. Peel back the reasons to reveal the motive and you will find the currency they traded, whether it was status, money, control, or fear. Once motive is illuminated, the plan loses its shadow and becomes a simple exchange anyone can understand. Prepare a circle of trusted witnesses and advisors who will listen without panic and offer clear steps rather than fevered emotion. Choose allies who ask for documentation and who will help you craft a neutral account so the truth can be presented plainly to those who must decide. There is power in a measured report and weakness in a storm of accusation that has no record. Protect your possessions, your communications, and your legal standing while you gather the truth, because plans made behind backs often target more than reputation, and a proactive guard will prevent further loss. Change passwords, secure important papers, and place copies of critical documents with someone reliable so the betrayer cannot erase the trail. These small acts of protection are not paranoia but prudence in a world where deceit moves quickly. Do not be surprised if the betrayer tries to rush you into acceptance with apologies that arrive too conveniently, because remorse is often the camouflage of the clever. Evaluate apologies by subsequent actions rather than words alone, and watch whether behavior changes in sustained and measurable ways. True remorse rebuilds trust step by step, while false remorse seeks immediate absolution without any meaningful repair. In the quiet that follows disclosure, tender parts of you may feel wounded and small, and that is natural because betrayal leaves a tender spot. Lean into healing practices that steady your nervous system, breath that anchors, movement that releases, conversation that clarifies, and give your heart the simple kindness it needs. Healing is not forgetting but integrating what happened so it no longer controls your choices. There is a gift concealed in this painful revealing because when a hidden plan is exposed you gain clarity about who truly stands with you. This clarity is precious because it allows you to prune relationships that drain and to tend those that grow your life. Your future will realign toward people who carry mutual respect rather than opportunistic advantage. As the betrayer's plans become visible, others who were unaware will choose sides, and you will be surprised by support that arrives quietly and steadily. Those who meant well but didn't know will step forward when they see the facts, and their presence will be a soft reinforcement for the hard work of repair. Community heals where isolation aches. Archangel Michael says that truth exposed in calm light cleanses the room of deceit, and when you proceed with righteousness your steps will be guided. This fight is not for revenge but for restoration, and when you hold your head high you invite alignment with what is good. Walk forward with resolve, because resolving the deceit is part of reclaiming your path. When the plan collapses under the weight of evidence, watch how quickly the narrative they tried to sell dissolves and how certain faces fall away from comfortable pretense. The people who thought they had cleverly constructed a scenario will scramble, and their hurried actions will reveal more patterns they hoped to conceal. This unraveling is the natural consequence of trying to bind you without your consent. Use the momentum of discovery to set new boundaries that prevent a repetition of this pattern, because boundaries are the architecture of future safety. Explain plainly what you will accept and what you will not, and enforce those limits with consistent actions rather than speeches. Boundaries teach people how to treat you, and they make room for healthier interactions going forward. Be open to professional counsel if the deception touches legal, financial, or complex emotional domains, because trained advisors will translate your experience into practical next steps. Legal clarity, financial audits, or therapy are tools that will turn an emotional crisis into manageable tasks with clear outcomes. There is no shame in seeking structured help when the betrayal is layered and consequential. As you move through the process of exposing and healing, remember to celebrate the small victories that signal your return to safety. A conversation that goes well, a document retrieved intact, a witness who testifies to truth, each is a stone in the pathway back to solid ground. Gratitude for these things is not frivolous but a compass toward restoration. Hold fast to trust again when your heart is ready because reclaiming trust is not naive but courageous, and it opens doors to human connection rather than closing them forever. Choose to trust slowly and to seed new relationships with clarity and calm, because wisdom learned in fire is gentle rather than brittle. Your future deserves a measured hope that is fortified by what you now know. Do not let what was hidden define your identity, because you are more than the plot of someone else and your life will not be the sum of their choices. Stand in the story you choose to write now with dignity and resolve, for the betrayed one who rises with clarity becomes the architect of a new life. Your destiny is resilient and will bend toward good when you steward it with courage. When you expose the people who conspired against you, do so with dignity rather than vengeance, because dignity calibrates the response of onlookers and strips power from the spectacle they hope to create. Let the evidence speak and let your voice remain steady, because people will weigh your posture as much as your words. The world favors the one who remains composed while holding the proof. Expect that some will betray you with reasons that sound plausible because plausible explains nothing and only obscures motive. Walk with soft strength, with careful steps that expose without spectacular theatrics, and with the serene conviction that truth is your ally. The person who tried to bargain away your peace will be revealed, and your steady resolve will rewrite the ending they planned. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. Do not underestimate what is happening around you. The ones you trusted are not all standing with you, some are standing against you, hiding behind friendly gestures. But the truth has been exposed before the trap could close. You are not alone. Protection surrounds you even now. And when the moment of truth arrives, the betrayer's mask will fall off suddenly, leaving them exposed in front of everyone. That is when you will understand why this message reached you today. Keep reading, my beloved child, because the story is not finished and the next turns will decide how brightly you rise. The betrayer believed in the power of surprise, but you hold the sharper power of preparation, and preparation does not flash, it accumulates. Every careful step you take from here forward turns their planned advantage into a shrinking echo. Notice who suddenly began to ask about your schedule and who started offering to help with decisions that used to be only yours, because these offers are the currency of their plan. When you catalog these well-meaning interruptions alongside other small irregularities, a pattern of design becomes impossible to ignore. Your sober list will be the thing that collapses their organized pretense. Do not confuse silence with safety, because silence can be the calm before the signature is made and the papers are folded. Keep your eyes on the timeline of events and watch how the quiet aligns with the moments when they met the people who now support the plan. A map of dates and places will look less like accusation and more like clear chronology that others can see and understand. There will be a moment when you choose to speak, and that moment should be planned like an unveiling rather than an outburst. Choose your time, choose your witnesses, and set the facts in a calm voice that carries the weight of order. When evidence is presented with poise, people stop debating and begin aligning. Lean on those who have shown consistent integrity, for they will reflect back the truth you need to feel steady. Trusted friends, a careful mentor, or a professional advisor will help you translate emotion into action without losing your center. The strength of a measured network is that it widens the circle of accountability you now require. Protect your communications and your private papers because betrayal often extends into attempts to erase or rewrite history. Take copies, backup files, and place important documents in more than one secure place so the trail cannot be stopped with a single clever deletion. Practical safeguards slow down any plot that depends on secrecy. When you move to confront, speak with the tone of someone who knows facts rather than the tone of someone who needs to be believed. Facts do the hard work for you and are immune to charm or deflection. The calm clarity of what truly happened cuts through excuses and leaves only the real choices in the room. Expect resistance to look like civility, because the most practiced betrayers can perform sincerity until the final curtain. Their politeness will be a test to see if you will accept an easy story rather than insist on the complete facts. Refuse the shortcut, because an easy peace bought at the cost of your future is a debt you will regret. Give space for repair only when repair includes measurable change, not just dramatic apologies that evaporate with time. True repair will be practical, restored accounts, returned favors, clear compensations, and an openness to accountability that can be monitored. If repair lacks those components, then what you see is theater, not transformation. Hold your voice steady when others attempt to drag you into a spectacle, because spectacle favors the loudest liar and weakens the quiet truth. Remaining steady invites listeners to lean in rather than recoil, and it assures neutral observers that your claim is credible. The world rewards composure when fairness is at stake. There will be an inner ache because betrayal bends into the places where you once felt safest, and that wound deserves tenderness, not rushing. Use small rituals that soothe you, a walk at dawn, a short letter to yourself that lists what you still trust, and a breath practice that returns the body to calm. These are not indulgences but the tools of clarity. Guard your finances and legal rights as if your life depends on them, because in many ways it does. Change shared access where necessary, consult a lawyer if transactions are in motion, and verify the legitimacy of any agreement that mentions your name. Financial foresight cuts off many of the avenues that betrayers hope to exploit. There will be allies watching quietly who were waiting for the right moment to step forward, and when you present the facts they will do what is required without drama. Their quiet assistance will be practical rather than performative and will help you rebuild whatever balance has been disturbed. Accept their help with gratitude and use it to stabilize the path ahead. Teach yourself to listen to the small, persistent signals that first warned you, because these signals are the clearest compass for future choices. That tug in your chest, the repeated uneasy thought, the tiny mismatch between words and deeds, all of these were the soft alarms that you can now trust louder. Strengthen your attention to these cues and they will protect you again. When public opinion becomes involved, present only the facts that matter and avoid airing every wound, because oversharing feeds gossip and hides the points that require attention. Let legal and financial channels address specifics while you keep community conversations focused on clarity and resolution. This divides the terrain, the public hears the values, experts handle the technical truths. If reconciliation is possible and honest, let it be slow and witnessed, because witnessed repair prevents hidden reversals. If reconciliation cannot be trusted, then closure is allowed to be firm and final without bitterness. Both outcomes are acceptable as long as they arrive from truth. Expect attempts to reset the story with new narratives, because when the plan fails they will invent other reasons to keep their gains. Meet new narratives with a simple return to your timeline and your records, which cannot be spun into something else. The more you repeat the plain sequence, the harder it becomes for anyone to resurrect falsehood. When you sleep, let peace be your small victory, because nights that were once restless should become restful again through steps you have taken. Secure doors, a clear plan, and a handful of trusted people make a formidable buffer against fear. Peace is not naive, it is the earned reward of actions taken with care. Look for the growth that follows this season of exposure, because clarity trims the deadwood from your circle and clears space for relationships that uplift rather than diminish. Your future friendships will be steadier because they will be chosen with intention rather than default. The pain of pruning becomes the soil where wiser bonds grow. Do not let shame live longer than it needs to, because shame is a shadow that thrives in isolation and silence. Speak your truth to someone who holds it gently and let the weight lift slowly under witness. The light of shared truth dismantles shame's hold. Embody the lessons that reveal themselves to you now, because lived wisdom is the gift you extract from hardship. Each boundary you set, each document you secure, each steady conversation you choose becomes a thread in a stronger garment you will wear forward. Over time, these practices will feel less like defense and more like competent life. When the betrayer's plan finally falls apart, do not gloat, because your calmness in victory will speak louder than any triumphal cry. Allow consequences to unfold through the structures you have set in motion, and let justice proceed without spectacle. This is dignity's version of victory. In the months to come, test new alliances with small conferrals rather than full trusts, letting consistency show you who merits a greater place in your life. Slow giving is not stinginess but wisdom earned from the trial you have passed. Time will reveal the people who are truly steady. Always remember that your capacity to choose who stays and who goes is itself a sacred power, and you may exercise that power without cruelty. Choosing yourself is an act of love that models care for others about how to be treated. This choice rewrites the possibilities of your future. Stand now in the quiet authority that comes from knowing your truth, because truth held with humility is unstoppable. You were warned, you prepared, and now you move forward with the clarity that protects and the courage that restores. Walk in that clarity and let your life be governed by the careful wisdom you now carry. My beloved child, the thread continues because your story is not yet complete and the hour of turning is still unfolding. Keep your posture steady and let the next steps be precise, for every careful move now echoes into the life you will live after this season. You are not being asked for fury but for clarity, and clarity is the most effective weapon against secret designs. Begin by naming what you know in a single clear document, because a quiet ledger of truth is stronger than 1,000 angry speeches. List dates, times, short statements of what was said or done, and the names of anyone present, and keep that ledger where it cannot be altered. This simple record will act like light in a room full of shadows and will attract the people who respond to facts rather than feelings. When you speak to witnesses, speak plainly and slowly, because plain speech forces attention and slows the rush of protective spin. Invite listeners to read the ledger rather than to rely on memory alone, and watch how neutrality shifts toward support when facts are organized. People who value fairness will respond to the order you bring rather than to the drama others try to create. Guard your emotional energy as if it were a sacred resource because betrayers hope to exhaust you into mistakes. Reserve big explanations for the moments that require them and use short, firm statements when casual encounters arise, so you do not hand momentum to someone who thrives on spectacle. Your composure will read as authority and will limit the field for manipulation. Close the doors you can close without drama, and make small, irreversible safeguards that protect you daily. Change shared passwords, withdraw access that is no longer appropriate, and move sensitive accounts under your direct control so that no one can reroute your future while you are sorting the present. These practical moves are quiet but powerful and will frustrate any scheme that depends on surprise. If a financial trail exists, walk it with care and with a professional you trust because money is often the lever behind covert bargains. An accountant or legal advisor will translate messy whispers into clear numbers and names, and that translation is what dissolves shadow deals into court-ready statements. Investing in clarity is a practical act of love toward your future. Hold a circle of 3 people who will read the ledger, ask only for facts, and then offer measured steps, because a small counsel steadies the hand when anger wants to lead. Choose people who have shown steadiness in other storms and whose lives show evidence of integrity, not loud promises. Their calm feedback will help you avoid traps that feel satisfying in the moment but costly later. When you decide to confront the person who deceived you, frame the meeting as an exchange about facts rather than an ambush for confession. Present the ledger, ask for a clear explanation of the items listed, and then allow the space for a simple response. The moment they try to rewrite history with excuses, return to the ledger and let the plain sequence of events do its work. Expect the betrayer to offer a story that sounds like repentance but lacks repair, because repair is rare and costly and most deceptive strategies prefer cheap absolution. Insist on repair that can be measured and observed, such as returned items, corrected records, or witnessed financial adjustments, because actions build credibility where words cannot. When repair is absent, accept that closure may mean separation rather than reconciliation. Protect your peace by scheduling small practices that return you to calm, since reaction to betrayal often multiplies its power when you are exhausted. A morning walk, a quiet cup of tea with no phone, a short note to yourself that lists 3 things you still control. These anchors remind you that your life remains whole even as you untangle what was broken. These small routines rebuild the boundaries of your inner life. There may be people who try to make you the story rather than focus on what was done, and that tactic is intended to distract from the ledger and the facts. When accusations become reversed, keep presenting the straightforward documentation and refuse the drama. The world usually roots for the person who presents calm evidence rather than the one who performs better in crisis. Archangel Michael says walk in the steadiness of truth and allow structure to be your first response, because structure exposes falsehood faster than fury ever could. This advice is not a call to passivity but a call to craft every step with a mind that favors consequence over sensation. Let consequence do its quiet work and watch how patterns unravel under the weight of ordered truth. If legal counsel is necessary, seek it without hesitation because professional clarity speeds resolution and prevents costly missteps. A lawyer will help you understand which actions to take first and how to preserve evidence in ways that courts and authorities will accept, and this is not an indulgence but necessary prudence. When systems are engaged, secrecy loses much of its force. Lean into support networks that have practical resources rather than only sympathetic words, because pragmatic help, someone who stores documents, someone who drives you to meetings, someone who attests to dates, transforms distress into steps. Practical kindnesses stabilize your reality and move you from crisis into management. Accept help and allow these allies to do the specific tasks that free you to lead. When the betrayer tries to recruit neutral parties to their side, counter with an invitation to those parties to read the ledger and then decide, because neutrality prefers truth when truth is presented cleanly. Many who appear indifferent simply lack the facts organized in a way they can easily follow, and your ledger provides that clarity. Neutrality becomes support when it recognizes the sequence of actions. As the truth becomes public, your careful reserves of patience will let you manage the narrative without inflaming it, and that management will protect your reputation. Speak when necessary, post only what the ledger requires, and use official channels where possible rather than social spectacle. This approach preserves dignity and ensures that consequences follow the facts instead of opinion. Allow yourself to grieve what was stolen, time, faith, ease, and then convert that grief into practical boundary setting so the wound becomes a teacher not a prison. Grief held without action can calcify into shame, but grief followed by clear decisions about who may enter your life becomes wisdom in motion. Your choices will be the visible lesson for anyone watching who might face similar darkness. In months to come, watch who returns with steady behavior rather than dramatic apologies, and let consistency, not words, be the currency of restored closeness. People who can rebuild will show up in small, non-theatrical ways repeatedly, and those repetitions are the true measure of change. Trust rebuilt in small measures is trust that will last. Celebrate small victories with private acknowledgments because these markers help the nervous system believe safety again: a returned document, a corrected account, a calm conversation witnessed by someone true. These small wins are proof that the system of your life can be repaired and fortified. Gratitude for them is a healing practice that rewires fear into faith in your own capacity. When you finally close this chapter, do so with a statement that names the facts, sets the boundaries, and leaves open a modest possibility for repair if real change comes, because closure is both protection and invitation for honest growth. Speak the truth, fix what must be fixed, and then move into the season of rebuilding with a measured heart. Your future deserves that careful, wise reopening. Walk forward now with the ledger in one hand and kindness for yourself in the other, because you will need both to construct a life that refuses the old script. You were warned, you prepared, and now you are taking back what was nearly lost. Stand in that sovereignty and let the next chapter write itself with clearer allies and quieter confidence. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20.